Hey guys, in these next two videos, I'm going to show you how viewports work and how sheet layers work. Uh, and that is how we are going to make our orthographic projections like this. In Intro to CAD, when you did this project, you had to make sure everything was lined up and extend lines, and it took kind of a long time. Well, in Advanced CAD, when we work in 3D, we can draw one object, and then with a couple of commands, we can create these automatically, and then just have to come in and dimension them. So this first video, I'm going to show you how to create viewports, how to get them into the right sheet view, the sheet layer, I'm sorry, and then how to get them lined up and all set to go. And then in the second video, I'm going to show you how to dimension and annotate the views, which means put marks and put lines on the different views. So here we go. I'm going to get rid of this guy right here for just a little bit. So here we are. We have our 3D object, and let's just kind of take a look at him. We'll move this guy down just a little bit. Here we are. Right isometric. Okay, there we are. We got our guy drawn. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a command up here in the view drop down box, and we'll come down here and we're going to click on create multiple viewports. So we click on this, and there's a couple things we want to change. The first thing is this method. You can leave that in third angle projection. The important things we care about are the scale and the views. And in this particular instance, we want to have a top view, a front view, a right side view, and an isometric view. So let's see, that guy go away. So we want front, top, right, isometric. And the scale, you have a pretty wide variety of different scales to use. So all you have to do at this point is you can guess and get it close. So I'm going to guess about 3 inches equals 1 foot. I'm going to stay with that that scale. So we click on that, and then we click on OK. And here, what it did was it made here are our views, and everything looks pretty cool. But we want to have it. If you look up here now, they are in sheet view 2. Let's come back here and we can look. If you click on the layer drop down, everything, I'm going to go back to design layer. Everything that we draw, when you make your 3D objects, you will draw them, you will create them in the design layer. When you were in Intro to CAD, everything we did was in the design layer. For Advanced CAD, now we're going to start working in a new layer called the sheet layer, and that's more for final presentations and doing things like that. So again, I'm going to come back to sheet layer 2, and what it did was it made 4 viewports, and it put them into sheet layer 2. Now I'm just going to go for a second. I'm going to go to sheet layer 1. Here is our border and title block. So that's already in sheet layer 1. So what I need to do is I need to move everything from sheet layer 2 into sheet layer 1, and it's really simple. I'm going to go back to sheet layer 2. And now I'm going to make sure right now nothing's selected. We come up to the object info palette, nothing's selected. Now you notice that there's these red and white band around everything, and we'll get to that in a second, but nothing is selected. So I'm going to draw a box over everything, and now looks like everything's selected for viewports, and all we need to do is to change the layer, just like changing the layer in Intro to CAD, but we're going to change it to the sheet layer view, and now we're going to go back. So sheet layer 2 is essentially, we don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go to sheet layer 1, and here's everything where it needs to be. It's not really placed right, but it's on the right layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the isometric view and just kind of stick him up in the corner. He can move independently. But these 3 views, they need to stay they need to stay lined up with one another. Now again, they can all move, they can all go in their own different ways, but one of the things of a orthographic projection is all the views have to be lined up. So I'm going to undo out of this. So everything's lined up. I'm going to select. I'm just going to drag them. Oh, zoom out. Get a little zoom crazy. Select these guys. Move them up just a little bit. And now I'm going to leave these guys just like this. Now, what we want to do is we want to figure out what type of lines we want to see. Now, on these three views, orthographic views, I'm going to bring back this view. So back in the day in IntroCAD, we would have these drawings that have dash lines and they'd have different line types. Now, if we make the right settings, those line types will be created automatically for us. So what we want to do for these three views is we want to change the render mode. And to do that, get this guy out of the way, I have my three viewports selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to background render. And I'm going to click, and here it gives us all these different ways to render the drawing. And what I'm going to choose for this point is I'm going to choose something called, where is it? There is dashed hidden line. So I'm going to click on that. And if you look at it, nothing really changed. Okay? Now this is where we get to the red and white dashes. When you make changes to viewports, and if you change something, they need to be updated. So where you can go, you can either go, if there's a viewport that needs updating, you can click on this and it'll update any selected viewport. So now these views don't show it, but here is our dashed line for the circle that's on the other side of this widget. Another way you could do something, you could update these, select them, and right now there hasn't been any changes. There's no red and white. Well, let's adjust this guy. Now what we want to do is we want to change the render mode for this guy. We have them selected, and we're going to come over here to hidden line, and I'm going to try something called, there's enough that you can play around with and just kind of see what things look like. And I'm going to use Artistic RenderWorks. And now I have it selected, but then I need to look at the background render settings. I click that, and so here are all these Artistic RenderWorks options. And so I'm going to try crayon. You can take a look at that. If you drew it as a crayon, that's what it would look like. Try line 1. I'm going to try, let's do chunky lines. Do 3. I don't know, I like that. Let's do that. Because again, the reason for the isometric view is to just give you an idea overall of what the piece looks like. So I'm going to do this, this, I'm going to click OK. And now again, it doesn't do anything. So I could click on Update, or I could come over here to View, Update Selected Viewports, or Update All Viewports. So I'm going to update all viewports. What the heck? And here's our piece. So you can also do foreground and background rendering. So I'm going to do a foreground render, and I'm just going to see what it looks like. I'm going to use dashed hidden line. I'm not sure what this is going to look like. Let's give it a try. So here it's sort of a mixture of both. We get the cartoony lines, plus you can see how it's put together. So I like that. I'm gonna leave it like that. So let's take another look here. Now the last thing I'm going to show you before we stop this video and then restart for the dimensioning is the nice thing about viewports is if anything changes in the design layer, it will be reflected in the viewports. So I'm going to come back to the design layer, and here's our piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this guy and I'm going to slide him over this way. I'm going to take this guy, slide him over this way. Come back to the sheet layer 1, and now you notice that it shows that these all need to be updated. So I'm going to come up here, View, Update All Viewports, and you passed your pointer. So here you can see it made the changes, and once there are dimensions there, the dimensions will move to a certain extent as well. So it's really pretty cool. I'm going to move this guy out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and move him. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and now let's come back again. Sheet layer 1, and it looks like everything's right. I'm going to update all viewports. So this is where we are at the end of video 1. We've made viewports. We've learned how to put them into sheet views. Everything is lined up. So in the next video, when we come back, we're going to learn how to annotate or make dimensions in sheet layers and viewports.